Hello and welcome back to Football Daily, where today we are running through 10 clubs whose transfer business has been overrated either this summer or over the last few seasons. Let's start. 10. Wolves. Going from a mid-table championship side to a solid Premier League outfit in the space of 5 seasons, a period which included a run to the Europa League quarter-finals, shouldn't be underestimated. But given Wolves' resources and ties to a super agent, perhaps it should be viewed as the bare minimum. With the co-owner and chairman of Fosun, the Chinese multinational that has owned Wolves since 2016, Gao Guangzhang, worth a reported £4.1 billion, more than the Glazers, it's clear that the Midlands outfit have a sizable backing. Have they used it effectively though? We don't think as well as they could have. Whilst players like Ruben Neves, Jota and Raul Jimenez have been lured from bigger clubs, and players like Sara Moutinho brought in for bargain prices, they've also spent nearly £90 million on Fabio Silva, Patrick Cutrone, Nelson Semedo and Ki-Jana Hoover, with £36 million signing Silva returning a miserable 4 goals in 63 games to date. What's more, they could only watch on last season as Rafa Mir, a player they sold for £14 million the previous summer, returned 10 La Liga goals for Sevilla, just one fewer than their 2 top scorers Jimenez and Hwang managed combined in the Prem. With many people tipping them to struggle in 22-23, Wolves fans will be concerned by the lack of activity thus far. 9. Sevilla. Famed for his record covering gems like Dani Alves, Rakitic and Kondogbia, Sevilla's sporting director Monchi has seemingly gone off the boil recently. First came a disappointing spell at Roma where he brought flops like Pastore, Hector Moreno and Gonalons, before returning to Andalusia in March 2019. It's been far from a disaster, with Los Nervionenses finishing in the top 4 for 3 consecutive seasons for the first time in 70 years. But some of his signings have backfired spectacularly. Ronnie Lopez played 5 La Liga games after signing for £22.5 million, Munas Dabur only lasted a year, while Suso and Oscar Rodriguez, brought in for a combined £31 million, have struggled for form and fitness. But arguably his biggest shocker came in January 2022, when he signed Man United's Anthony Martial on a 6-month loan deal, reportedly paying all of his £240,000 per week wages. The club tweeted that he was a very special gift for their 132nd anniversary, but after returning 0 goals in nearly 500 league minutes, even failing to make the bench for 5 of their final 6 games, they probably have rather returned this present, as their failing attack put a stop to their faint title hopes. With Koundé likely to follow Carlos out the door this summer, Sevilla are certainly up against it to remain competitive. 8. Southampton. The days of Southampton signing the likes of Wanyama, Mane, Van Dijk and Tadic seem like a long time ago now. The last few seasons saw former owner Gao Xisheng hamstrung by China's change in foreign investment policy in football, and then looked to sell the club, finally agreeing a £200 million sale to Sport Republic in January 2022. Whilst the club will be hoping that Gavin Bazzuno proves to be as shrewd an investment as Livramento and Walker-Peters before him, they've had their fingers burnt buying players with very little Premier League experience. Ibrahima Diallo has never looked close to a £10 million player, whilst Adam Armstrong returned 2 goals in over 1,400 league minutes after signing from Blackburn for over £15 million last summer. Whilst it is too early to draw any conclusions about the new owners, they are certainly under pressure to fix a squad that only just scraped 40 points last season and took 5 from a possible 36 to finish the campaign. 7. Inter Milan. On the face of it, bringing back Romelu Lukaku for an €8 million fee on reduced wages a year after selling him for £97.5 million is a remarkable piece of business. But if their previous strategy hadn't forced them into selling him alongside Hakimi in 2021, they'd have kept Conte and would almost certainly have won a second consecutive Scudetto. With the Athletic reporting that Inter Milan need to make a profit of £60 million this summer to pay off some of their €290 million loan, it's highly unlikely they'll be able to sign Lukaku permanently in 2023, meaning that the 3-time European champions are effectively paying €60 million in wages and loan fee to have the Belgian back for 1 season. Whilst Dybala's potential arrival means that it makes more sense to sell Lautaro Martinez this summer, it appears that it'll be club stalwart Milan Skriniar making way. While Serie A Defender of the Year Bremer has been lined up as a replacement, he's far from a like for like, with his 44 passes per game, of which 1.7 are progressive, passes that move 10 yards towards an opponent's goal, ranking in the bottom 40% of centre-backs in Europe's top 5 leagues. Remaining competitive despite their financial situation is a commendable achievement, but no one can pretend their transfer strategy has been particularly intelligent over the last decade. 6. Leicester City. The days of Leicester City signing Kante, Vardy and Mahrez, the stars of their title-winning side for a combined £9.7 million, seems long gone. Yes, they have had some success since, with Ndidi and Fofana proving to be shrewd investments, but there have certainly been more misses than hits. Since their title win, they've signed 16 players for over £15 million, with the most notable disasters being Adrian Silva, Prayet, Perez, and last summer's additions Soumaré and Vestergaard. If it wasn't for big-name departures like Mahrez, Maguire and Chilwell, their strategy would face far more scrutiny. Take last summer for example, they spent a net £57 million, dwarfing their biggest summer outlay of £36 million net in 15-16, and it didn't work out. £18 million Lille star Soumaré featured in 2 of their final 13 league games, whilst Vestergaard, who cost just under £60 million, played fewer minutes than Fofana, who missed 41 games with injury. With Rodgers promising a summer overhaul, there have been no new arrivals as of yet, and Fox's fans must be getting worried that with stalwart Schmeichel and Vardy now both 35, things could get worse before they get better. 5. Stuttgart. Ask Arsenal fans about Sven Mislintat and they'll probably have some mixed things to say about the former Dortmund chief scout. Socrates, Mkhitaryan, Torreira and Guendouzi all proved to be disappointing purchases, with Aubameyang the only unqualified success from his brief 3-window spell in charge of the Gunners' recruitment. Stuttgart sporting director since April 2019, he's had to rebuild the 2007 champions following their relegation months after his arrival. And in a similar vein to his time in North London, there have been some successes, with Gregor Kobel flipped for a £7 million profit after 12 months, Nico Gonzalez sold for £22 million, whilst players like Silas and Kaladzic will inevitably be sold for massive profits on their £9 million combined fees. But it's also fair to say that after a shock 9th place finish in 2021, De Schwaben's 2021 summer business was less successful. Fagir Milot and Alhamada were signed with an eye on the future, but Chris Furyk managed 5 goal contributions in 25 games, whilst Kobel's replacement Florian Muller conceded 10 more goals than XG predicted, the second worst record in Europe's top 5 leagues. With some big boys promoted in May, they are under pressure to avoid another season of strife. 4. Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid's transfer record in recent years has been decidedly mixed. Whilst we can't pretend that the capture of Yannick Carrasco and the opportunistic transfer of Luis Suarez didn't play an enormous role in their 2021 title triumph, plenty of other moves have left a lot to be desired. Morata's £31.5 million return lasted 2 seasons before he moved on a 2-year loan to Juve. Players like Cunha, Rodrigo de Paul and João Felix have struggled to replicate their best form, and don't even get us started on Vitolo, who cost the club over £30 million. This summer has seen Herrera and Suarez released, and despite their issues at right back, striker, central midfield and crucially centre back, the only arrival at the time of writing has been 22-year-old central midfielder Samuel Lino from Portugal. With Real having recruited Rudiger and Tchouaméni, the chances of Atleti overturning the 15-point deficit seems fanciful at best. Must do better. 3. Brighton. Like Southampton a decade or so ago, Brighton certainly deserve credit for establishing themselves as a solid Premier League outfit, with their 9th place finish in 21-22 their best in their 120-year history. We place a lot of their success down to the shrewd appointment of former Östersunds and Swansea boss Graham Potter in 2019, rather than solely their transfer dealings. For every Pascal Gross or Dan Burn, who cost a combined £5.9 million, there is a Locadia or Johan Bash, who set the club back £32 million. Even this summer they've lost their most sellable asset, Yves Bissouma, a player destined to play Champions League football for £25 million. Whilst they haven't yet answered their long-term striking issue, instead signing the unproven Julio Enciso from his native Paraguay. After losing the hugely influential Dan Ashworth earlier this year, the pressure is now on to build on their excellent 21-22 finish. 2. PSG. Last summer the whole football world went crazy as big name after big name rolled into the Parc des Princes. But the fact was, the window that many proclaim the greatest of all time, as PSG responded to missing out on Ligue 1 by signing Messi, Ramos, Donnarumma, Hakimi, Nuno Mensch and Wijnaldum, was actually incredibly overrated. Donnarumma struggled to displace Keylor Navas, and his tragic performance at the Bernabeu cost the Parisians a quarter-final berth. Ramos's failing body couldn't muster 800 league minutes, Wijnaldum was unhappy with his role in the squad, Messi struggled to replicate his Barcelona form until the final month of the campaign. They may have cantered to the Ligue 1 title by 15 points, but they conceded 8 more goals than the previous campaign and dropped points in 12 games, their most since 2014-15. At least they seem to have learnt from their ways. The excellent Luis Campos has been appointed sporting director, with his acolyte Christophe Galtier coming in as manager, and they plan to rip up the squad. Marca report that as many as 12 players including Neymar are up for sale, whilst the likes of Milan Skriniar and Renato Sanchez are being targeted as they chase that elusive Champions League crown. 1. Chelsea. Marina Granovskaia has left Chelsea Football Club. Given that they have also lost the club's chairman, the technical and performance advisor, the club record signing and 2 of their best centre-backs, the pressure is most definitely on new owner Todd Boehly, who didn't even know he'd own the club, let alone run their transfer business in a crucial summer just a few months ago. But that aside, the departure of the Chelsea director and close confidant of former owner Abramovich has led to some reflection about her storied past in the transfer market. A shy, almost secretive character, little is known about Granovskaia the person, but everyone who's come across her describes her as principled, trustworthy, but also ruthless. With Dick Law, Arsenal's former chief negotiator, telling The Athletic, "I would consider her one of the top, if not the top directors anywhere in football." There were notable successes, namely persuading Chelsea to extend Drogba's contract in 2009, persuading Real to pay an initial £89 million for Hazard, despite the fact he had 1 year left on his contract, and extracting the maximum fees for Oscar and David Luiz. But there can be no doubt mistakes have certainly been made. Lukaku's disastrous 12-month return, missing out on Alisson and signing Kepa, and letting talented youngsters like Abraham, Tomori and Gehi leave, with the latter 2 surely having a future given Christensen and Rudiger's contract situations. It was far from a disaster, but in our opinion her spell in charge of Chelsea's transfer business was overrated. So guys, that was our rundown of 10 clubs with overrated transfer business. What did you guys think of it? And I'm sure we inevitably missed some out, so let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like it and subscribe to Football Daily for more great daily content, and I'll catch you next time.